Okay, so here we have Steve Paranto, and Steve has a long history of pickleball. Steve, if you could tell us about when you started playing and what kind of paddle you used.
Well, my very first exposure to pickleball was my community college, which is a suburb of Seattle, where the sport was invented. Green River Community College, and all the tennis players. I was a tennis player. During our lunches, would go in and play pickleball. And the first 2 weeks of college, our professors went on strike. So we felt like, well, we're not going to class, let's play pickleball all day. And we did that. And back then our paddles were wooden paddles with holes in them. And they weighed about 13 ounces, so they were very heavy.
And then your dad, you said that your dad was...
So my dad would follow us around to tournaments. And my dad was a Boeing engineer, and he was an athletic person, so he loved sports and would root us on. And the partner I had at the time, we did fairly well, but we kept losing in the semis and finals to the same people over and over. And I was frustrated. I came home one day and I said, you know, these wooden paddles are too heavy. I weighed a pickleball paddle, and I weighed a pickleball, and they were 13 times heavier than the ball. I weighed a tennis racket at the time and a tennis ball, and they were 7 times heavier. And I said, the ratio's off. So a week later, Dad makes 2 prototypes out of Boeing floor paneling. He was an engineer at Boeing. And we had the prototypes. We went to the next tournament and beat those guys, same guys that we were losing to. That was the start of the company.
I'm curious about the facings on those. Were those graphite facings?
They were fiberglass. They were fiberglass, the very first. They were a honeycomb, just like everything you see now is basically a copy of some sort of that material.
Do you know what year that was?
That was 1984.
And then did it have an edge guard on it? Or
We put it, well, that was the only part of the paddle my dad didn't manufacture. We had that molded by a company. My dad made every single portion of that paddle in our garage in Eatonville, Washington.
And then what about the grips and the build-ups on those?
Oh, well, Dad did that out of a foam material, cut that out of foam. He did that all himself, beveled it, had a process to bevel it, and then we would be gripping paddles. It was about a 22-step process to make a paddle.
Right. And you made them in your
garage.
Right. Did your dad play pickleball too?
And he did, and he got very good for senior level. He was winning local stuff for his age. He's 84 now, so at that time he was younger than I am now. So it's hard for me to believe when I look at those old pictures that, hey Dad, you're younger there in that picture than I am now.
Right. So your dad started the company Pro-Lite.
He started Pro-Lite.
And you named it Pro-Lite because
well, it was the lightest paddle. It was the lightest paddle available, and we thought we'll put Pro in front of it. The lightning bolt came from watching the movie The Natural by Robert Redford. We were watching the movie when we were starting the company, and we liked how Robert Redford put the lightning bolt on his bat. So the next day we had a lightning bolt as our logo.
Great. And you guys sold the company to...
We sold it to Mark Candelario, who then, a couple years later, sold it to Mark Friedenberg, and now Mark Friedenberg's son Neil has it.
Women's 55 plus.
Very good.
Yeah.
Thank you, Steve, so much.
You're welcome.
With us the history of the pickleball.
Medal round.
Yeah, you're welcome.